Welcome everyone to the special meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, Friday, May 22nd, 2020. The meeting was noticed for 1:30 in the afternoon. It is now 1:39. Dr. Campos, you can establish quorum.
Thank you, Mr. President. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. Today we have Commissioner Caloza and Commissioner James at City Hall in our boardroom. We are also joined by Commissioner Garcia and Commissioner Davis that are in City Hall but not in the boardroom, and then also Commissioner Villegas is joining us remotely from home. In addition to that, I'm calling in from home remotely, and Mr. Ted Jordan is dialing in remotely from home as well. Mr. President, you do have a quorum at this time. Currently, we do not have any public commentary nor any commentary under the Neighborhood Council comments section, and no comments on any of the items for today's special agenda. Okay, then let's go ahead and take care of number one, which is the approval of the meeting minutes from the meeting of Tuesday, May 12th, 2020. Commissioner Caloza has seconded my motion that we approve the meeting minutes from May 12th, 2020. So that'll be taken care of. Agenda item number 2, Council District number 7, Bureau of Engineering, change order number 6, and a revised budget for Clark Contracting Corporation, Terabella Street at Fenton Avenue Improvements Project, recommending that the board authorize $90,000 in additional contingency and approve a revised construction budget of $881,200.30 for the Terabella Street and Fenton Avenue Improvements Project. And secondly, authorize the city engineer to issue final closeout change order number 6 for the project to pay for the final bid quantity adjustments. And we have a representative from engineering on number 2 today. Yes, we have Mr. Stephen Chen.
Hi, good morning, commissioners. Steve Chen, Bureau of Engineering. This is my first time doing a virtual presentation, so hopefully I can get this right.
Steve, let me interrupt you for a moment, just to say welcome back. It's great to see you back, sir. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, President. Yes, so we're asking for authority to issue a change order on this project, Terabella Street and Fenton Avenue project for $9,000. Just a quick background, this project was at the corner of Terabella and Fenton. It's something that CD7 has really been wanting to do for quite some time. And this project basically allowed us to construct a sidewalk to allow much safer access for students to travel to nearby charter school across the street. So that's what this project was about. During construction, this project was very much fast-tracked. We did this very quickly, and during the construction, we ran into some overages on excavation and asphalt construction. As a result, we did not have enough funds to cover it, but we were able to get additional funding, and now we'd like to ask for additional approval to issue this change order to the contractor for this work.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chen. Any questions at all? We'll start with Commissioner Villegas on number 2.
I'm good, President. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Garcia.
No questions either. I do fully support this project, and once it's time to do a motion, I will second or move it.
Great. Well, that'll be your motion on number 2 then. Dr. Davis, any questions on number 2?
None.
All right, thank you. No questions in the queue. I'll second Commissioner Garcia's motion on agenda item number 2. Any objection, Commissioner Davis?
No objections.
Thank you. Any objection, Commissioner Villegas?
None, thank you.
And no objection in the room, so without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 2. I note, Dr. Campos, number 2 is one of the ones that does need mayoral approval, so that's an amended motion, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so that all is amended for mayoral approval on number 2, and we can send that back forthwith. Agenda item number 3, contract amendment number 3. It's the first 2-year renewal option and budget increase for the 5 Keys schools and programs, the mobile pit stop and mobile shower programs, recommending that the board, subject to the approval of the mayor, first authorize the Board of Public Works Executive Office to exercise the first of 2 1-year renewal options. So that's a little different than what's written in the heading above, it sounds like a 2-year renewal option, but we'll get that cleared up. On the the first of 2 one-year renewal options, it's a personal services contract with 5 Keys schools and programs for continuation of the mobile pit stop and mobile shower programs. And secondly, approve the proposed amendment number 3 to the contract between the City of Los Angeles and 5 Keys to increase the total contract cost ceiling by $4,541,028, and that takes it from $7,083,970 to $11,624,998. All other terms and conditions of the original contract remain in effect. And third, authorize the president or 2 members of the board to execute contract amendment number 3. And Dr. Campos, are you our representative from the executive office, or do we have somebody else?
I am not. We have Mr. Mike Yu that's going to present the item, and we also are joined by Mr. Domingo Orozco from the Bureau of Sanitation. But Mike, you can kick it off.
All right, go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon, President James, commissioners, bureau representatives, representative from City Attorney's Office, and the Board Executive Officer. My name is Mike Yu. I'm working for the Board of Public Works Executive Office. Today, I'm requesting the board to authorize the Board of Public Works Executive Office to exercise the first of 2 one-year renewal options to the personal service contract C-133592 with 5 Keys schools and programs for continuing the mobile pit stop and the mobile shower programs. Also, through the proposed amendment number 3 to the said contract to increase the total cost ceiling by $4,541,028 from current cost ceiling $7,083,970 to $11,624,998. All the terms and conditions of the original contract should remain the same. So on July 17, 2019, the board authorized the Board Executive Office to execute the original contract with the 5 Keys for service related to implementing the mobile pit stop and the mobile shower programs. Also, on September 15, 2019, the board executed amendment number 1 to provide monitoring and attendance services for the mobile hygiene units under the Bureau of Sanitation Care Plus program. After discussion with the Bureau of Sanitation, they plan to increase the cost ceiling for the extension of the said services by their own board report, which will be submitted to the board office for approval in another time. On April 2nd, 2020, the board executed amendment number 2 to add additional hygiene services to Council District 11 in connection with the Council File 19-1234. Meanwhile, also extend the service hours for 1 existing mobile pit stop location on 6th and Gladys Avenue from 12 hours to 24 hours in connection with the Council File 18-0628. As of March 2020, a total around $2.1 million has been spent to implement both programs. As a result, a total 377,860 patrons have been served at 19 locations under the mobile pit stop program, and 5,379 patrons have been served at 15 locations under the mobile shower program. The current contract term will expire at the end of June 2020. Based on the good performance of the contractor and the positive feedback from the local council officers and the communities, authorization of the first renewal option and the increased cost ceiling by amendment number 3 are necessary to continue services for an additional year. There is no physical impact to the general fund. This agreement is funded by the remaining homeless emergency aid funding and the future homeless housing assistance and prevention program funding, which according to CA office will be allocated to the board office at the end of June. This concludes my report. I'm ready to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. We'll start with Commissioner Garcia. Any questions?
No questions, President James. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Davis.
Yes, I just have some observations. The mobile pit stop program seems to be critically important. One, we know that even during this COVID-19 era, there becomes an increasing amount of responsibility to make sure that everyone has the access to services that can help them be able to better manage this situation. And we've had from the mayor's office 2 programs. One, the shower program that we have used with the YMCA, and then of course this mobile pit stop program. What I've observed from having had discussions with those administrators in the Bureau of Sanitation is that there have been some areas that have preferred the mobile pit stop shower program. So I think that in terms of us supporting this proposal and this motion, it again is critically important, and it's a very valuable service that is being provided, and it really complements the shower program that we currently have very well. Because when in fact we don't have the numbers up in terms of serving the homeless like we'd like, the mobile pit stop fills in the gap there and becomes a very viable alternative to making sure that the homeless population has the appropriate showers that they need, particularly during this pandemic. So I wanted to say that because through my discussions, I've come to have an increasing awareness about how important this program really is. And so I enthusiastically support it.
Okay. Commissioner Villegas, any questions?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'm clear as well. Commissioner Caloza.
Thank you, President James. Thanks, Mike, for your presentation. I just had a quick question around the metrics for the number of patrons that have been using this program. I was just curious if there was a breakdown by location or council district. Just curious to see what the numbers look like when you disaggregate them in that way, and if there's any helpful trends for us to understand as we continue to see this program evolve.
Commissioner Caloza, yes, the contractor does generate a monthly report for both programs. If you are interested, I'm willing to send a copy to the exec officer so he can distribute that report among all the commissioners.
That would be great to see those numbers. Thank you. And great job on this program so far.
Great, thank you, Commissioner Closer. That sounds like a motion from Commissioner Davis that subject to the approval of the mayor. Is that correct, Commissioner Davis?
That's correct.
And a second from Commissioner Caloza. All right, and Commissioner Garcia. No objection from the chair. Commissioner Villegas, any objection?
No objection. Thank you.
Okay, then that'll be approved as amended. Without objection, any issue sending it forthwith without objection? I should say that again. Any objection sending it forthwith? Without objection, we will send it as amended forthwith on number 3. Thank you, Mr. Yu, and to Domingo and the team at Sanitation. That moves us to number 4, Office of Community Beautification, Council Districts 3, 11, and 12. A contract amendment, Los Angeles Conservation Corps, various community beautification services, recommending that the board authorize OCB, subject to transfer and appropriation, to execute a contract amendment with the Los Angeles Conservation Corps in the amount of $274,915 for community beautification services in Council Districts 3, 11, and 12. And secondly, authorize the president or 2 members of the Board of Public Works to execute the contract amendment after approval as to form has been obtained by the city attorney. This is also subject to the approval of the mayor. Dr. Campos, we have someone from OCB on the line. Is that Mr. Roch?
We have Mr. Paul Roch.
Mr. Roch.
Good afternoon. Paul Roch, Director of the Office of Community Beautification. This particular agenda item does request board approval to amend an existing contract with the LA Conservation Corps, one of the nonprofit community-based organizations under contract with the Office of Community Beautification. Funding for this particular contract amendment is provided by various city council offices seeking to clean and beautify their communities through the work of the Los Angeles Conservation Corps. the Office of Councilmember Mike Bonin has provided funding for enhanced median island maintenance improvements and neighborhood cleanup services in Council District 11. Additionally, Councilmember Bonin has provided funding for ongoing landscape maintenance and litter cleanup along Venice Boulevard between Beethoven Street and Inglewood Boulevard in the community of Mar Vista. The Office of Councilmember John Lee has provided funding for enhanced weed abatement and litter cleanup services utilizing LA Conservation Corps in Council District 12. And finally, the Office of Councilmember Bob Blumenfield has provided funding for various community beautification services in Council District 3, including litter cleanup, weed abatement, and sidewalk improvement projects. So we thank you for your attention to these items and request board approval.
All right, thank you. We'll start with questions with Commissioner Garcia.
Paul, are these services something that was already planned before the COVID-19, or this is something that just arose during this time?
I think typically these are something that were planned before COVID-19. Kind of towards the end of the fiscal year, middle of the fiscal year, council offices do start trying to find what to do with some of their discretionary funding, and in a lot of cases they do provide it to some of the different OCB contractors. In this case, LA Conservation Corps to provide additional services, whether it's landscaping, litter cleanup, weed abatement, whatever they particularly want to see in their districts.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Davis, any questions?
None, I'm fine on this one.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Villegas?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Caloza?
Thank you, President James. Thanks for the presentation. Paul, I just had a question about the amendment in terms of the current nonprofits that service these respective council offices, and whether or not the council offices chose not to go with the current nonprofit that services their district for any particular reason.
Well, you know, the LA Conservation Corps does provide citywide services, so they do provide services throughout the city of Los Angeles. I'm not sure, you know, in these cases, some of the work may not have been able to be completed by other OCB contractors, some of the sidewalk repair work or something like that. In some cases, such as out in the San Fernando Valley, Council District 3 and 12, they have previously provided funding for the regular OCB contractor to provide this type of service. And now we're also looking to get additional Clean and Green or LA Conservation Corps services out there as well.
Got it. So the determination to go with the Conservation Corps was decided strictly by the council office? Is that what I'm hearing?
That's correct. In each of these cases, the council filed that transferred funds to the Board of Public Works Contractual Services account. They do specifically state that they want the funds to go to the LA Conservation Corps.
Okay, got it. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. Sorry for that interruption. So Dr. Campos can work on that one for me. Any further questions? I don't have any questions, so that will be a motion from Commissioner Caloza, and I'll second that. This one also has to be approved, is subject to the approval by the mayor. Any objection, Commissioner Villegas?
No objections, thanks.
Thank you. Any objection, Commissioner Garcia?
No objections, but I
Thank you.
support the motion as well.
Commissioner Davis?
None.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Garcia, were you adding yourself as a second?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, just so we have the record clear. So without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 4 as amended, subject to mayoral approval. We can send number 4 forthwith. That takes us to number 5, also for Mr. Roch, Council District 14, Contract Amendment, Los Angeles Conservation Corps. Recommending the board authorize the Office of Community Beautification, subject to transfer and appropriation, to execute a contract amendment with the Los Angeles Conservation Corps in the amount of $40,000 for community beautification services in Council District 14. And secondly, authorize the president or 2 members of the Board of Public Works to execute the contract amendment after approval as to form has been obtained by the city attorney. Mr. Roch on number 5.
Yes, Paul Roch, Director of the Office of Community Beautification. This particular one is the same as the previous ones. It's just separate because it would be in a different contract with the LA Conservation Corps. Because, you know, as I think everybody's aware, LACC does provide a lot of tree services, tree planting, tree maintenance services. They do so under a separate contract from their clean and green crews. So in this case, we would be asking to amend the contract in which LA Conservation Corps provides tree planting, tree maintenance services. These are funds transferred from the Office of Council District Jose Huizar, specifically for LA Conservation Corps crews to focus on trees that have been planted at various locations in Council District 14, specifically at the Eagle Rock Recreation Center, at Hollenbeck Park, and the Arroyo Seco Avenue 60 Park. Scope of services would include regular ongoing watering of the trees, as well as any tree maintenance services that may need to occur.
All right, thank you. Any questions on agenda item number 5? We'll go to Commissioner Villegas.
I have no questions. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Davis?
Conservation Corps 14, no problems at all.
All right, and Commissioner Garcia?
No questions either. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 5. Is there a second, Commissioner Caloza? Okay, thank you. And Commissioner Garcia as well. Commissioner Villegas, any objection?
None.
Thank you. Commissioner Davis, any objection?
None.
All right, without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 5. I know this is also subject to approval by the mayor. So we'll send this back as amended for agenda item number 5, and we'll send that forthwith as well. That moves us to agenda item number 6, Council District 11, contract termination and final supplemental agreement closeout change order for M&R Construction. This is the Venice Boulevard Interceptor Sewer Unit 2. Recommending that the board approve the termination with the contractor not at fault category of the contract with contractor M&R Construction. And secondly, authorize the city engineer to issue the final supplemental agreement closeout change order number 1, the final contract termination cost to the contractor for not to exceed amount of $1,886,966 for the purpose of settling any and all remaining costs associated with the termination of the construction contract. And do we have is it Mr. Drucker today on this item, or am I wrong?
You have Mr. Ryan Tolles that's presenting the
Oh,
item.
Ryan Tolles, that's right. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is Ryan Tolles with the Bureau of Engineering Wastewater Conveyance Construction Division. So this board report is requesting authority to terminate the construction contract and issue a final supplemental closeout change order to M&R Construction Incorporated. A little background: the scope of the project was to construct an interceptor relief sewer due to some capacity issues that were projected in the future. The construction method was a combination of open cut and micro tunneling. The approved budget for the project was $13.4 million, which included the contingency, and the notice to proceed for the project was issued April 30th of 2018. The contractor began the submittal process with LADOT for approved traffic control starting around May of 2018. And early on, I think by November of 2018, the traffic control approval, it was obvious that there was a significant issue there, and it was elevated to the Bureau of Engineering and LA Sanitation executive level to try to address some of the concerns that were being brought up by the council office regarding the traffic impacts that the project would create. The primary concerns with the project were the overlap with an ongoing or about to begin Culver City Storm Drain project, also the impact to the pedestrian and bicyclist and high traffic businesses that were in the area. In November of that same year, BOE suspended the work until a final decision was reached regarding the traffic control plan. Several alternatives were then considered and identified. Community meetings were held over the next several months. At some point, the director of sanitation, the council office, and mayor had a meeting to try to attempt a solution, but by the end of May of 2019, we realized there was no solution and decided the termination of the contract for city convenience was the best alternative. LA Sanitation confirmed also at that time that the project could be delayed until 2027 before they expect to actually experience those capacity issues that the project was intended to relieve. The contractor subsequently submitted their termination claim in September of 2019. The initial claim was in the amount of approximately $3.2 million. There were several rounds of meetings and negotiations between the city and contractor, and we settled at the $1.88 million. The primary cost to the contractor included expenses incurred by the subcontracting tunneling, the tunneling subcontractor for preparing for the work. There was also some specialty equipment that was modified specifically for this work. It also included material that had been procured already for the project. Some of those items we were able to procure and deliver to sanitation for their inventory. Other items were returned back to where they came from with fees associated with that. There are also costs associated with overhead and submittals and meetings and project management that occurred on the project. So because this deduction exceeds 25% of a contract change deduction, then that's why we're using the supplemental agreement change order. BOE also believes this board report is not subject to the belt tightening memo since we're returning approximately $11.5 million to the sewer funds and not requesting additional funds for this termination. I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Just an added note for the record, as indicated in the board report, the Program Review Committee approved of the requested termination this year, March 11th, 2020. So, Ryan, on this, is there anything, and I asked this question during the briefing with you and Mr. Pusti, who may be on the line as well, regarding this recommended settlement, compromise, closure, termination, is this something that that the bureaus are satisfied with?
In terms of the settlement amount, is that what
Yes.
Are you asking about the settlement amount?
Yes.
Yeah, I think the settlement amount it's actually less than I think what we were projecting the cost to be at the time when this discussion started. So the settlement amount is reasonable and is reasonable to both the Bureau of Engineering and the Bureau of Sanitation.
There's reference to, how long did the settlement negotiations go back and forth?
So the termination, it took several months, and the reason it took several months is because the contractor requested several extensions before they were able to gather their cost and submit it as the formal claim. So they eventually submitted it in September of 2019, but we issued the termination notice on May of 2019. So it took them obviously several months before they submitted it. And then there was probably 3 meetings that were required to finally reach the settlement. But that's why the process took as long as it took.
Okay, Mr. Jordan, any issues on this item that, granted, even with approval of this item, any thoughts and issues as we go forward?
No, I spent a fair amount of time with the Bureau of Engineering. I concur with the recommendation. We took a very hard and careful look at the documentation submitted by the contractor with regard to their claim. There was a significant effort to push back, which has resulted in the claim being, as low as the number is. It is what it is. I concur with the recommendation.
All right. Commissioner Davis, any questions?
No, I don't. I think that probably all parties involved is glad of the agreed upon resolution. And at this point, in terms of business, I think it's appropriate to move forward.
I'm sorry, Ryan, let me go back to you for a moment. Any issues from the council office on this? I know that the board report references that BOE is going to continue to outreach with the council district and stakeholders regarding the impacts to the community and such, but any issues from, or thoughts from the council office regarding this one way or the other, this agenda item number 6?
Well, my understanding is they were very supportive of terminating the contract due to the impacts that it was going to cause. So they are supportive of the decision or of this procedure that we're doing now. We are reaching out to them to try to address the project in the future, and that's being coordinated with the project manager and sanitation, so that in the future, when a project does come, that we make sure this is avoided.
Okay. Commissioner Garcia, any questions?
No, I don't, but I am also agree with the Commissioner Davis. I'm happy this is now coming to some kind of a solution, whether good or bad, but I'm just glad we're there. It's been a while on this.
That's right.
all.
Okay. Commissioner Villegas, any questions?
No, no questions. This is not an easy issue right now, but I figured that BOE will probably come back to us after they do like another realignment on the actual project. And I just see this as additional costs. Sorry. So the lenses that I look at this with. Thank you. No questions.
All right, thank you. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number, I'm sorry, Commissioner Caloza. That wasn't on a moment ago. I looked over. Commissioner Caloza has a question.
Thank you, President James. I just wanted to add one other thing for the record, and I can't remember if I asked you this, Mr. Tolles, in the briefing, but when this project is re-advertised in the future, since it sounds like we have a little bit more time before this becomes a much more critical project, does that disqualify MNR from bidding?
No, because this termination is not due to MNR doing anything wrong. It's due to city convenience, so it doesn't go against MNR in any way.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to add that to the record. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is Ted. I concur. If anything, I don't know if there's any means to do it, but this does not reflect on MNR at all. Reason for the termination.
No, and I think the record is good on that, but that was a good question regarding going forward with a subsequent bid. All right, thank you. Then I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 6, seconded by Commissioner Caloza. Any objection? And Commissioner Davis. Any objection, Commissioner Garcia?
No objections. Thank you, President.
Thank you. Any objections, Commissioner Villegas?
None.
All right, thank you. Then without objection, Dr. Campos, this one does not need to go for mayoral approval. Actually, it does, correct?
Recommendation is not to send it over to the mayor's office for approval since there is no change, there's no fiscal impact. This actually it reduces the dollar amount and it's within the original fiscal amount that was approved by the board.
Okay, then my first instinct was right. So this will not. So this is just a motion as is, seconded by Commissioner Caloza. We don't have any objections, so without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 6. Any issue sending 6 forthwith? That will be sent forthwith. Dr. Campos, have we cleared the desk this afternoon?
Yes, you have.
Okay, colleagues, have a great, and everyone on the line have a great, safe, long weekend, well-deserved. And a reminder, Monday is a holiday. We do expect to have a special meeting on Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Right here back at the Board of Public Works. Tuesday, that'll be at 10 a.m. Have a great weekend. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Aye.